In April of next year, Faulu Microfinance Bank, which will close 6 of its locations, making it the most recent financial institutions to reduce the number of its physical branches in the wake of rising investments in digital banking services. It wasn't immediately clear whether employment losses would occur from the closure of the 4 branches, as has been seen with other banking organizations that have chosen this course of action. The microlender shuttered locations in Nakuru, Taita, Taveta, Meru, and Kirinyaga last year in a move that was identical to the ones planned for Faulu. More on this, we're joined now by Arnold and Oluoch, financial and investment analyst at Wango Capital. It's good to see you. Good evening. Thanks for coming through this evening. Karibu, why is Safaricom looking to reinstate charges on bank-to-mobile transactions?
Thank you for having me. These charges were part of M-Pesa revenue, and given that mobile money usage had gone up and has caught up after COVID, Safaricom sees a huge revenue opportunity in this. And being that voice and mobile data revenue has plateaued, Safaricom, M-Pesa has always contributed to a bigger chunk of Safaricom's revenue. For example, in the last full year results by Safaricom released in May, Safaricom M-Pesa earnings went up 30% year over year to about 107.7 billion. So Safaricom sees this as an avenue to increase their revenue. Thank you.
But what was the motivation for the central bank under Njoroge to remove those charges in the first place?
Njoroge removed these charges just to enhance currency circulation during the COVID. And then this was removed sometime in March 2020 as part of COVID relief measures. And then the CBK decided to stick with this decision as an enabler of currency circulation within the country, just to enable trade and to enable small bill holders conduct their businesses.
Safaricom has a meeting with the central bank over this matter. How do you think that meeting will turn out? Will it be in favor of Safaricom, or do you think the central bank would toe a middle of the line as to what happens next? The interest of the people, the interest of the company. How do you think this issue will be decided?
That's an interesting question. Thank you. And it's always a balance. It's always these regulators face such challenges and dilemmas when making these decisions, and it's always a balance of both the consumer interest, the government interest, and the companies or corporate interests. But unfortunately, I don't see, with the current CBK governor, I don't see the charges coming back, as he's adamant on not charging customers to transact their own money. So the best that Safaricom could get from the discussions maybe is just a little addition to what's already being charged, not as the charges stood previously. So if at all, just to get a win-win situation in the room, they might reinstate the charges, but not as fully, just as a fraction of what was there before. Yeah.
Are mobile money transactions still growing in Kenya? How has it plateaued? What have been the triggers behind the growth?
Mobile money transactions in Kenya haven't really plateaued. In fact, in 2021, mobile money transactions in Kenya grew about 32% as per the CBK data. And this growth in mobile money is mostly attributed to the increase in the use of cashless transactions by firms and households. It has become a culture in Kenya to pay via M-Pesa and other mobile money services. So there's still a future in mobile money transactions, especially with the increase in feature phone penetration and the network coverage in the country. I think there's a beautiful future in mobile money transaction.
Okay, so let's talk about Faulu Microfinance Bank. This bank is closing 6 branches across some of the counties, as it were. So wants to focus on digital banking. What do you make of that decision?
I think it's a good decision for the microfinance bank, as it is mostly a targeting issue. As you know, microfinance banks doesn't target everybody. They target these saving groups and savings and credit societies. They give loans to these small, we call them chamas or saving groups, as I mentioned before. So for them, it's a good decision, as it's mostly a targeting issue. That unlike NCBA and like cooperative bank, they are mostly targeting those areas with how do I call it, with these women, with these women self-help group, youth self-help groups. So it's a good thing to have, to set physical foot on those areas and geolocations.
But we have on the other side of coin, you've got NCBA and a cooperative bank, both of them planning to open new branches. So is there a difference between the commercial banks here and the microfinance bank here? What's the motivation for NCBA and others to go in a opposite direction in terms of a branch expansion in Kenya?
I think NCBA and cooperative bank are just following centers of economies. They're just trying to find places with high concentration of either high net worth individuals or business people, just to contribute to their revenues. And it's again, it comes down to a targeting issue, as I mentioned before. If you look at half-year results for NCBA, for example, foreign exchange transactions contributed the most to its earning. There was a lot of growth there. So I think for them, or with them, bank branch transactions contribute a lot to their earnings, unlike other local and retail banks from within, which has almost 90% of their non-branch transactions, or 90% of their transactions taking place out of the banks. For example, Equity Bank Kenya and KCB Bank Kenya.
So if we have some Kenyan banks closing branches and going digital, others are opening more physical branches, what does the divergence in strategy mean for the industry as a whole?
Well, with the rise of technology adoption and a growing economy, I think just Africa as a whole, or rather Kenya, digital banking landscape is set to develop at a record pace in the next few years, mostly attributed to the growth in mobile penetration and the and the appreciation of digital banking by consumers. And as per reports done by, I think, the World Bank in 2021, 96% of African banks, or rather of the banks that took part in the survey, regarded digital transformation as one of the most important factors in their growth strategy. It's also very crucial and vital to note that most of the Kenyan banks, now speaking in the Kenyan markets, consider better client services, which includes engagement of clients in these digital channels, as a priority to the banking and digital transformation. So yeah, there's a great future, and I think there's still an uphill to climb, but it'll catch up. It'll catch up. There's still a lot of potential in the banking space, in the digital banking space in Africa and Kenya.
Okay, great. Ultimately, do you think this divide will remain, or will the future of banking in Africa go completely digital, or we're still going to deal with traditional brick and mortar, while some folks will have digital, or those who got the two mixed together?
Well, it's tough to say that that banking would go 100% digital, but I see most banks increase their non-branch transactions, as this reduces costs and increases their net incomes, which is what banks are for anyway. Businesses are there to make profits, so anything that cuts costs is great for them. And then most banks are also investing in digital transformations, digital transformation expenditures over the years, just to see how to relay services to customers on the digital platforms. So as much as the future is bright, but it cannot be 100% digital and neither 100% brick and mortar. It will be a divide. But I see most transactions, definitely more than 90%, taking place digitally.
All All right. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great evening out there in Nairobi. It's good to have you
Have a great
on the
evening,
show.
too.